I remember, I'll be fishing, right? And sometimes I'll go to my mother's job. My mom's an aide. Sometimes I'll go to her job, right? And it's just so crazy how her job was always near like a fishing spot, because it was like usually like near a beach or sometimes even freshwater. So I'd go there time to time, and at this I was a younger teenager at the time and everything. So I was still living with family. There wasn't no way how all this would be. I would notice all of this because I'll be going from house. The whole point is explaining that I was just not in one house, but I was in this house. I'd be going to her workplace, whether it's at a workplace or you don't have to only happen at a house. Sometimes you can see these things at a restaurant before I get on what I'm actually talking about. So there'll be times when I look out my window. I'm not looking for anything. There'll be just times when I look out the window, right? And then I'll see a cop car passing by. And it wasn't until like the fourth time this happened to me, like, it cannot just be me. The first time it happened, I told myself that there's something that's seriously going on with me. I kid you not, bro. I did not know what the Gangstalking program was. I didn't know of any of these things. All I knew is that I was being timed. I don't know if it's a Freemasonry fortune telling type of thing, or to this day, I still ask myself this question and I still think about it. I don't know if it's that or, them, dealing with the chip, some smart technology with the chip, but they're tracking your movements. As a targeted individual, bro, what I'm trying to tell you is that they are tracking your movements. So, I can only tell you these things. I don't know if you can see this plane here. This plane, those planes are a part of it. So I got to see that I wasn't crazy. It would continue on. Like, there'll be a lot of times I'm looking out my window, I'm seeing these, if it's not a cop car, it's some black suspicious looking car, something like that, just passing by, And I started to realize other things, after seeing that, there's no way how, let me not say there's no way. After seeing that, that's what made me start to, realize other things, recognize other things, question a lot of things. After you start to question things, you start to pay more attention. Not that you wasn't paying attention before, but you start to pay more attention to things that you weren't. So, I'm trying to, think about all this from scratch. So, like, bear with me here. After that, there'll be other things that I noticed. I noticed that these police would be coming into my dad's apartment complex, and I told this story of how one day I was inside of the house, and there's two exits from the house. One is the kitchen door and one is the hallway door. I was in the living room, and I think I was going in the kitchen to like get a snack or something like that. And on my way to the kitchen, I heard the kitchen door slam. So, I always explained that this wasn't smart to do. What I did was I went to the door and I opened it. I heard, door slam. I opened it to see there was someone out. So when I opened the door, we're on the third floor. It's something that looks like a hotel, more like a hotel. It had 5 floors and, lobby downstairs. We're on the third floor. So when I opened up the door, I heard another door slam. So that was giving me the idea that there go another plane synchronization right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. That gave me the idea that they had a room on that floor in which they were monitoring my movements, and there'll be a lot of other suspicious things happening in that building. You guys know what I mean? The owner of the whole thing was former military, former army, and this guy was very suspicious. This guy would follow me around, and he would be telling us about a lot of complaints. There'll be people making complaints there, and he would get the complaints, but I feel as though it was just, people working with him. But, the whole thing is just crazy, man. I'm telling you that, he would be, there's a chemtrail that you guys have soon seen the chemtrail. I don't know if it's going to go down that far. I doubt it. No. It's probably not going to go down that far. I'm probably going, hold on, let me move the camera up. Hold on this way. Let me see if I can get it up. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. I'm trying to position my phone holder. Hold on. I'm trying to position it this way. One second, guys. You guys can see the chemtrails. In these chemtrails are nanobots and parasites that aren't good for the human respiratory system. And it's something that a lot of target individuals have been trying to get out to the mass, to the people. You guys know what I mean? They'll tell you fallen angels and all this. But, yeah, so, where was I? So, yeah. Sorry, guys, it fell. Sorry, guys, yeah, I fell back down. So to make a long story short, I ended up moving from there and I moved to my grandmother's house purposefully. And every time when I'd go back over there, he would ask me, suspiciously, he'd ask me, why did I move? Why don't he see me as much as, he used to? And, gangstalking is something that bro. If you're around a perpetrator, if you're around someone that, was sent or, was a part of the program, you simply know. So, that's my story of, how I found out that, I was a target individual. And there's a whole lot of things that I missed. I cannot get everything. It's so much. It's so much. And then day by day, you're going through new tactics and new things in this program. That's something that no one can do, man. Unless you're, some type of robot, unless you're some type of, I don't even know, bro. I don't even know. But gangstalking is real. Gangstalking is real. And it is coming to light in today's time. There's a secret government program out there that targets, different types of people. You don't need to be a star person. You don't need to be a chosen one or a cosmic king